was different from my path, but I think and even more interesting. So I'm going to ask Rob Lopez to come up. Rob is a graduate student at San Jose State University. He's also working at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. So I'm going to turn it over to him to talk about his pathway into science. And after that, we'll turn it back over to Pranoti. Okay?
A little shorter than I thought I was. You're gonna actually excuse my voice. It's beautiful San Francisco weather made me a little under the weather. But without further ado, good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, it's an honor to be in the presence of you future young scientists. I can't put into words how impressed I was with the poster that I seen earlier. But more so, it's an honor to be in your presence because as far as I understand, you guys and girls are the next generation. You're the future game changers. You may be my future colleagues. Possibly you may be one of my future directors or bosses because I do not envision myself taking on elevated roles like that. But if you want to, be my guest. But you're classified as bright stars, and consequently that acronym is quite fitting and appropriate. If you look up the definition of a star, I think it's a definition all of you could resonate with quite well. I looked it up on my phone really quick right before I came here on Wikipedia of all places. So by Wikipedia standards, a star is a luminous sphere of plasma held together by its own gravity. And I like to think of that as, you know, yourself, myself. You're a bright star. You're a star. That gravity that holds the star together, in essence, that's your motivation. Your motivation is what's driving you to be here. It's what's driving you to want and seek something better in life and to provide cutting-edge science to share with the world. You're here at AGU. You are literally sharing science with the world. Does anyone know how many people are in attendance at AGU?
24,000?
Yeah, about 24,000 people. Let that sink in. You're presenting a poster at a conference with 24,000 people. I barely know 1,000 people, so well, that's what my Facebook account says. But to go dive deeper into the definition, Wikipedia goes on to say the nearest star to the Earth is the sun. And as we understand and as we observe, the sun like to peek over the horizon. And again, that's analogous to you bright stars. You're peeking right over the horizon of greater success, of something you probably never even imagined, maybe even 6 months ago. Think about where you were at 6 months ago, a year ago. Did you think you would be here in San Francisco sharing your science with 24,000 people? I still don't get over it. And you know, I'm pushing 30 years old and it still, you know, it baffles me. I go home and my mom still treats me, you know, like a little 5-year-old boy and said, "Son, how was work today? What'd you do?" "Oh, well, Mom, I got to see about 24,000 people. They like science just like me. We could all, it's a safe place for nerds." You know, but, you know, all jokes aside, that's how you got to view your trajectory and where you're going in life right now. You're in essence, you're the walking definition of a star as outlined by Wikipedia. And I can attest to that. I don't need Wikipedia to tell me that. I've seen several posters, and some of you might have recognized me because I was going around some of the posters and I gave some feedback. I was really impressed. And this is coming from someone who works with the U.S. Department of Energy. I'm impressed by the magnitude of research and the level of control you're able to have when you're communicating science, because any researcher in science will tell you communicating science is probably the most difficult thing to do. Aside from being transparent about what your work is, communicating science is really difficult. And when I was at the poster session, I seen people, young people telling me and sharing with me what they're doing. I was beyond impressed, as I said earlier. And so, with that said, I just want to, excuse me, throw a couple little highlights out there. I seen Earthquake at the dinner table. I thought that was pretty cool. If you didn't see that, and you're around the young man that had that poster, I believe he's from Fairbanks. That poster is very interesting. I like the artwork. It's very original. It's creative. I've seen another one, methane. I believe it's gas methane simulation from animal waste. That was interesting. Now I know what I could do with several of my animals. But everything I've seen is just amazing. And the people I come across during the poster session, unfortunately I don't remember everyone's name, but I was just so thoroughly impressed. And on my way walking over here, I ran into a colleague, and she had asked, "Where are you going?" I said, "Oh, I'm about to head to the Bright Stars Luncheon." And she said, "Oh," she's like, "I ran into several of the students who were part of Bright Stars." She's like, "I want to say they're from New Jersey, a school called Malcolm X." And, oh, there we go, Malcolm X. And she had nothing but beautiful words to say about the students from Malcolm X. And, that was just one young scientist interaction with a group of students from Bright Stars. And, so that speaks volume and magnitude about what the greater science community thinks of you young scientists, you young engineers, young scholars. We think so highly of you. We're so impressed. And I'll be honest, I was nowhere close to that trajectory that you're on right now when I was around that age. In fact, I wasn't on this trajectory until maybe 6 years ago. I know Billy said I'm close to your age. Unfortunately, he lied to you. I graduated high school in 2007. Oh wow, yeah, oh wow. I hope I look young. So I'm gonna dive into my personal story really quick, and I promise I'll keep it as short as possible. But I just want to say, I'm so impressed because you all are literally 10 steps ahead of me where I was at in life at that time. Because when I was younger, yeah, I had this interest in science, but I didn't have an interest in pursuing it. I didn't have an interest in doing anything with my life. As far as I was concerned, my contract in life was set to expire when I turned 18. I seen or fathomed no life after that age. So when I reached the age of 18, I was like, wow, I'm an adult. I'm still living, I'm still kicking. And to give some background, I grew up in a city not far from here, Richmond, California. Some of the locals might know that. It's one of the more violent cities in America. And during my formidable years as a teenager, it had the highest per capita murder rate in the state of California. And unfortunately, several of my friends were murdered while I was in high school. So as I progressed in age, many of my friends either became deceased or incarcerated. And so here I was, 18 years old, not doing anything with my life, barely graduated high school. Really, I think the teachers let me get through high school because they didn't want to deal with my mischievous self anymore. And I went a couple years just really not doing anything productive with myself. And the straw that broke the camel's back was when my best friend had passed away. And his was actually the only death that was out of sequence, in my opinion. He had actually taken his own life. And that's when it hit me that either someone's going to take me out or I'm going to end up taking myself out if I don't change what I'm doing. So I went to community college as a safe haven, to seek refuge. And that changed my life. I met up with a mentor who I consider a friend now, Dr. Seti Siddhartha. She was speaking earlier here at AGU on Monday, and she's one of the people that saved my life and introduced me to an opportunity at the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab as an internship opportunity. She says, you should apply. I think you'd be a really great candidate. I didn't think I was. Here's this, kid from Richmond who started college really late and still has these little hood tendencies. But I did it anyway. And I did it because my mentors who offered to write me a letter of recommendation, they validated that they believed in me enough that I was adequate for this opportunity, that they would write me a letter of recommendation. So I applied, I got in, and I was happy. My mother was happy, my whole family was happy. She didn't know why she was happy, she just knew it was science. She just knew I was sciencing science out of science. There's no other way to put it. But they invited me back for another internship in 2012. And by this time, I had really straightened out my life. I detached myself from a lot of negative influences and was really getting involved with community outreach and trying to help young people avoid the same mistakes I made and the same mistake my friend made. Because at the end of the day, how I viewed it and how I still view it is that my friend wasn't afforded the opportunity to actualize his potential. And I'm not going to play the bystander and allow another young person to walk past me and not have equal and equitable access to opportunities. So that's why I'm here today. I generally don't like talking about myself, so it's hard to talk about my personal story, but I share it as insight that, not to say, I went through a tough time, that means you could do it too. That's not my agenda, that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is life will throw you the biggest wrenches you've never seen. And it's up to you to learn how to adapt, because there will be obstacles along your way. People will undermine your success. People will tell you you're not adequate. People will tell you maybe you should change your major to art history. Yeah, I see the head nod. Not to knock art history. I'm a very big fan of art, but unfortunately, people like to latch on to stereotypes that aren't true. So I hope you get from this message that you have a lot to offer. You're here at AGU in front of 24,000 people, and this is just the beginning. Imagine what you're going to be doing in 10 years from now, when you're in grad school, when you're a postdoc, or when you're in high school, because I've seen an elementary student. That really made me question, what was I doing? But I hope that serves as evidence that there's so much that you can give and you can provide, not just to science, but to your community. Because as you grow and become more knowledgeable in your respective area of interest, I highly advise you go back to your community, or a community you might think disadvantaged, and share what you learn, share what you know, expand it, because that's the purpose of science, is to engage, collaborate, and inspire creativity. And that's why I said we can't knock art, because art is a major component of science, in my opinion. So, sorry about that art history joke, but I'll end it with this. Please, keep doing what you're doing. Actualize your potential, execute your goals, and be hungry. Thank you.